All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Thursday, December 19th, and we have a massive NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, down in the pinned comment, you'll see information about our final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself, absolutely free if you guys do want to find interest in that. Again, that'll be down in the pinned comment. In terms of how we did last time you saw me, so no NBA yesterday, but 2 nights ago we had the NBA Cup final. We go 1-1, so our little scorcher of an NBA run is over. I mean, this isn't all that terrible. We do lose a little off the top. On the bright side, the ride of the day streak. We'll take a cha-ching. We'll pump in some damn crowd noise there for Marcio here. He had Taurean Prince over 7.5 PRA. He finished with 6, 2, and 2, I believe. So that's 2 plays in a row now on the ride of the day that Marcio has cashed. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day or ROTD in the comments. Give me your favorite play. I give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. I also shout you out over on my Twitter/X, which it just popped up right there. And you also get a shout out on the Guy Boston Sports site. If you win, we continue to ride with your play until you lose. If you do lose, you get the shout out, but we got to talk about it. You face the womp womp. So get those hashtag ride of the days in there. Excited to see what Marcio throws out today. But yeah, let's not waste any more time. Huge NBA slate. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and jump into it. If we do go through some of these a little bit faster, it's most likely just because I don't love the matchup and there's so many other games that we don't need to spend uber amount of time on it, you know what I mean? So let's jump into it. This Detroit and Utah one happens to be one of those. Detroit's taking on Utah here. 4.5 point favorites are the Pistons at home. Total sitting at 228. In this one, I do think it's a Pistons spot. Would it surprise me if Utah keeps this close? Not necessarily. If this game gets moving quick, I think it's going to favor Utah. If Detroit kind of slows it down, I think that it favors Detroit. I'll take the home team. I just think that they've been playing better defense and just better basketball overall, keeping some games tight. So give me Detroit minus the 4.5. In terms of a total, I'll lean towards the under, like I mentioned. If you're on Utah in this one, which again, this is not one of the sexiest matchups on this massive card, right? But if you are on Utah, you're most likely liking the over. And if you like Detroit, I do think it kind of correlates with the under. So I'll lean towards Detroit in the under, but I don't anticipate this one or either of those plays being final plays, to be completely honest. Next up, Washington taking on Charlotte. Another favorite that I like in this one. I do like Charlotte, and honestly, somewhat of a slim chance of being a final play here. Now, we're going to want to keep an eye on the injury report. Brandon Miller is listed as probable, but again, listed on the injury report, right? No Trey Mann, but they have LaMelo, they have Brandon Miller, they have Miles Bridges. I think that's a good recipe to be able to beat this Washington team, who's still going to be without Kyle Kuzma and obviously Sadiq Bey. This Charlotte team likes to shoot from 3. Washington's terrible at preventing the 3 ball, so that's going to favor Charlotte, who over the last 10 games has been shooting above the break threes at the fourth highest clip. And then you have Washington, who honestly, they've been looking to shoot in the paint and whatnot, whereas Charlotte's defensive presence in the paint hasn't been all that terrible. So yeah, has Charlotte been on a heater right now? No, they're 1-9 in their last 10. So is Washington. I think Charlotte kind of runs away with this one in a sense. I think I've seen some 3.5s out there, which would obviously be a better number as well. I just think that Charlotte's perimeter gets the job done here. Maybe we'd consider like a Charlotte team total over, because I do think that they'll have some offensive success. Then we don't have to worry about them covering the number, but even still, I'm not all that scared of 3.5 points against the Wizards, who are just straight up the worst team in the league, right? So yeah, I'll lean towards Wizards. The only hesitation is that Charlotte's really struggled on the road this year, but they've kind of struggled on both, on the road and their home floor. They've been slightly better on their home floor. But against the spread on the road, 55% of games they've covered, right? So it's they're not winning games, but they're covering, and those are mostly as underdogs, so it's a little weird here, them being a favorite, but it's still going to be the spot that I look at. I wouldn't mind taking a peek at, LaMelo or Brandon Miller, guys on the perimeter. Now, LaMelo is coming back from injury. I'm not sure if he's going to still have his minutes restriction, and then obviously Brandon Miller kind of in the exact same boat, now banged up, but LaMelo for over 3.5 threes. Last time he played Charlotte, which was last season, he had 6 threes against them. The time before that, he had 4. So, he's going to have the quantity. He's been shooting a ton per game. I think it's 13 per game this season. So, yeah, this is a bad Charlotte defense. LaMelo should be able to chuck. Orlando taking on OKC. Now, there is kind of a path to get to Orlando here. I will admit that. If you want to go down the path of, OKC, NBA Cup, kind of they just lost that one. They did play more recently than Orlando. Orlando's now at home and rested. I don't know if I can get there without Wagner, without Banchero. Harris is on a game time decision as well. So it's like, again, those three injuries are pretty crucial. Most of that crucialness is from Banchero and Wagner, obviously. Gary Harris is whatever. But still, to me, it's like OKC being one of the best teams in the league against the Orlando Magic, who are, yes, a good defensive team, but clearly going to struggle without those two guys. They beat Phoenix, but a lot of the times in the NBA, when your guy goes down, you win that next game, kind of like, you use that as motivation and whatnot. Then they lose to Milwaukee, they lose to New York. This is a large number. Like, I think they can keep it somewhat close, but I'm going to lean towards OKC minus the points. That total's way down there at 210. I'm going to go over. I do think that, this Thunder team could have a really good offensive performance in this game, kind of like a bounce back spot after only scoring, 81 points against the Bucks. Like, if we can get Thunder team total over some sort of a reasonable number, that may be a look as well. Now, I don't have many player props that I'm liking in this one, just due to the fact that, I'm giving both defenses credit here, and I don't necessarily want to dive into an under, in which I do think the Thunder kind of up the tempo of this game. With that total down at 210, we're going to see some reduced lines, obviously, right? And then it's like, well, you're taking an under on a reduced line. Just doesn't seem like the sweet spot for me, so I'd probably pass on player props, even though there are some viable names and whatnot. Just nothing that's jumping out to me. So I'd probably go OKC team total over, and then even potentially the game total over, because it is so low. We are definitely flying through these games. So let me take a break for a second to talk to you guys about Underdog. Yes, we are talking basketball, but they do have a nice little free square for Justin Herbert in this Thursday night football game tonight. You're going to get him at 0.5 total yards. If you guys don't know what Underdog is, it's a DFS app in which you pick higher or lower based on player set projections. You put them into an entry. The more you win, the more you get paid out. It's really simple, really cool, and really fun. You're also going to get a deposit match up to $1,000, which is mind-blowing, right? So go check out Underdog. That link is going to be in the description, as well as the pinned comment, and it'll be by the final plays on the Guy Boston Sports site. Go take advantage of this Herbert Square. Now let's jump back into these games. We certainly have a lot of them to get to. Let's go ahead. All right, Boston taking on Chicago. This is a large spread, a huge total. Like, I don't have the best side or total look in this. I do have a player prop that I'm liking, so we'll get to that in just a second. In terms of a spread here, this Chicago team's obviously worse than the Celtics. The Celtics are an incredible team. If you don't know, now you know. Against the spread, like, they haven't been all that tremendous. They're 10-16 this year, ATS, covering at home 35.7%. Like, you gotta remember and kind of give them a little bit of a leash here, because they're laying numbers like this all the time. So it's really hard to cover those numbers, right? I think in this one, the Celtics are the better team by far, but 15 points seems like a hell of a lot. And this Chicago team has been decent against the spread on the road here, 53.9% cover rate. I guess I'll lean towards Chicago. I would never bet this, just because the Celtics do have that ability to go out there and just blow a team out, especially a team that isn't all that great defensively, like Chicago. Now, I will say Chicago's defense looks really good in the paint. It's like they're not really good in the paint, really good on the perimeter, which does match up well against the Celtics. But still, the Celtics, I don't care if you're the best perimeter defense, the Celtics can still shoot on you, right? So, give me Chicago plus the 15. I don't think I can bet against my own favorite team. In terms of the total, 243, I don't mind an under, though. Like, honestly, a chance of a final play here. Yes, the Celtics should be able to win this game, maybe not by 15. And yes, Chicago's defense is bad. But what did I just mention? Chicago's defense against the Celtics team should match up fairly well. Both of these teams like to shoot the lights out of the ball. Last 10 games, Celtics shooting the number 1 amount of above the break threes, number 7 amount of corner threes. Chicago, the second most above the break threes, so only the Celtics are above them. And then the first, I guess the most, corner threes over the last 10 games. But you have on the season the 4th best team on the perimeter in terms of preventing three-point shots to go in, the Celtics, and the 9th best in terms of the Bulls. And the Bulls on the road, the number 5 team. So the way both teams like to score could be a little bit more difficult than normal. Now, there are a couple injuries to note here. Giddey is questionable for Chicago. Hauser and Porzingis and Tillman questionable for the Celtics. those aren't really impacting these plays necessarily. I will say for my player prop, I almost hope Porzingis doesn't play because it's going to be Vucevic over in points. But anyways, to wrap up what I was saying, I do like the under 243.5. I think both of these teams could kind of disrupt a little bit what the way that we would get to this 243 number. Regardless of pace and all that, I don't think that the Celtics shoot their best percentage tonight, nor do the Bulls. Now, from a player prop perspective, like I mentioned, I like Vucevic here over 17.5 points. He played them back in late November, so I think it was about 10 days, November 29th, whatever that is, right? Like 21 days ago or so. He had 32 points. In that game, he shot 69% from the field. Nice. 11 of 16. He also hit, I think it was like 5 threes. So Vucevic should have the ball here. He should get it a lot. I really don't mind him over 17.5 points. If he starts to go off, I don't mind looking at his over points, rebounds, and assists, because I do think that he could have, he had 46 PRA last time he played the Celtics, by the way. I do think that he could have some easy assists kicking it out, because if he starts scoring down low and the Celtics defense says, oh crap, we're so bad at defending the paint, let's collapse, he could start kicking it out to some of these guys to make threes. Then also I do think that he could have his fair share at getting rebounds. Even though this is a good rebounding Celtics team, it's also a good, he's a good rebounder as well. So yeah, I would probably go in that order. Vucevic in terms of points. Then if you do want to consider his combo stats, you don't like the 17.5, then maybe take a peek at PRA, because I do think he's going to have opportunity for other stats like points, like rebounds, like assists. All right, we have Brooklyn taking on Toronto. So Toronto has not been playing great basketball overall, but I say it in every video, they're playing very good basketball against the number. Last 10 games, they're 3-7 straight up, 7-2-1 ATS. So I give them a lot of credit, and when they do look good, it's when they're at home, right? They're 77% of their games so far. They have a 77% home hit rate in terms of covering the spread, which is crazy. Now, I'll give Brooklyn their flowers too. 69.2% of games they've covered on the road. So this should be a back and forth game, in all honesty. And I think the way that I look at that, I'm kind of split on where I'd go with the spread, but I think I jump right to an over. Like, neither one of these teams are world-beating defenses, right? You have the 21st defensive efficiency team in Toronto this year and the 27th in Brooklyn. Now, are they good offenses? I don't know if I would go that far. We still have some serious injuries on both sides. You have Scotty Barnes, who's listed as questionable. Maybe he comes back. But then you have Jakob Poeltl out, Emmanuel Quickley still out, and Bruce Brown still out. On the other side, you have Bogdanovic still out, and Cam Thomas, one of the best scorers for Brooklyn, still out. I think he's being reevaluated soon or something. He's not cleared for contact yet, last I saw, but he might be coming back soon. But nonetheless, not playing in this one. So yeah, some of the offensive pieces are missing. If Scotty Barnes plays, I love that, because that's just another offensive piece for Toronto. And no Jakob Poeltl takes away their sort of defensive big guy down low, right? And you have big old Kelly Olynyk down there. I like the over in this one. That's definitely got a strong chance of being a final play, over 218. If I had to pick a side, I would just go, home team here. If this was Brooklyn at home, I'd probably lean them, but it's Toronto at home, so I'll lean towards Toronto in this spot. Player prop wise, honestly, nothing overly jumping out to me in this spot. You do have, a Brooklyn team that's starting to struggle at preventing points in the paint, but RJ Barrett is the guy that I'd look at for that, and his line's becoming higher and higher, which rightfully so. And now you throw potentiality of Scotty Barnes back into the mix. That could just mean less shots for RJ. So I will probably stay away from that. That was where I was looking and thinking about going, but the numbers just don't necessarily make all that much sense to me. I think I might just go over and or Toronto and kind of call it a day with this one. Memphis taking on Golden State. This is a weird one to me. I almost feel like I'm missing something here. You have a lot of injuries. Ja Morant questionable. If he plays, it's obviously a game changer, but Ja Morant questionable. Marcus Smart doubtful for the Memphis Grizzlies. And then on the other side, Steph Curry is good to go. The rest of their starting lineup is good to go. Dennis Schroeder is listed as probable the addition. So it's like, what's going on here? Why are the Golden State Warriors +3? Is it because Memphis has been playing good basketball? That could totally be, right? They are 8-2 in their last 10 games. Last time these two teams played was this season, though, and Golden State beat them 123-118. You look at who played in that one. Okay, that was no Ja Morant. That was during the time in which Memphis was banged up, right? But we don't know if Ja Morant's playing in this one. And one thing I will say, even if he does play, Memphis loves to get to the hoop, right? They're going to shoot a lot in the paint. Golden State this season, third fewest points allowed in the paint, and they're shooting a bunch of threes, as we know. Memphis, just a kind of middle-of-the-pack team in terms of preventing threes. So, Yeah, give me Golden State plus the 3 points, potentially a money line look. Have they been playing as good as basketball as this Memphis team? No, they're 2-8 in their last 10 games, but they've kind of played a gauntlet. Like, listen to these last 8 games for them: OKC, Phoenix, Denver, Houston, Minnesota, Houston, Dallas. That's a freaking gauntlet. So yeah, obviously they should be winning more games and whatnot, but it isn't all that easy of a road that they've kind of gone down, right? So yeah, I'm gonna go with the underdog in this one. Now, this is one of those games where I would say if you're on Memphis, don't let what I'm saying talk you off of it, especially if Ja Morant plays. Like, I do get where you're coming from, but I just see having 3 points in your back pocket as the Warriors as a good look for them and as a good spot for them. So yeah, give me them. Obviously, you know, I mentioned that Memphis isn't that great at preventing threes, so maybe you could look at Steph, but his line right now, let's see if we can get an updated threes line from Steph. Maybe we could look at like a Steph points plus assists, because right now his points line 23.5. Don't love that. Last time he's played Memphis, 13 points, 14 points, 20 points. Last 3 points plus assists, he struggled as well. So this is a Memphis team that's played really well against the point guard, so maybe we stay off of that, but I do think that he has the chance to make some threes. But his line, it is plus money, so albeit it's plus money, at 4.5 seems a little bit high. In terms of what we didn't talk about a total yet in this one. I like the under. I think if Memphis wins this one, they probably do up it and run and stuff like that, right? They're the number 1 pace team over the last 10 games, but Golden State's towards the bottom of the league at 22nd in terms of pace. If Golden State's going to control this one and everything like that, like what I've been saying, I do like an under 237. By the way, guys, we have some awesome new merch over on the store, GuyBostonSports.com/store or FadeMe.store. There's a merch bar here on YouTube as well that we put some of the featured products, so go ahead and check that out. It'll be down below. If you do want to support what we got going on here, we have a bunch of discounts going on right now because we can't guarantee, holiday delivery time because it's only 6 days, less than a week until Christmas and holidays and whatnot. So yeah, we're doing some discounts now on some products just kind of to give back in the idea of like, yeah, we'll try to get them to you as soon as possible, but no guarantee. So yeah, things are up to 25% off on the site. Go ahead and check it out. Again, that'll be down below. All right, Minnesota taking on New York. We got the trade game here. Julius Randle taking on Karl Anthony Towns. I guess Dante DiVincenzo as well, but I think those two first names are the main ones to look at here. Right now, Minnesota 2.5-point favorites. That total is down at 215. I hate to say that this is another one where you can go. I do have a play on this one, like a one that I like, but you could go either way. I'm going to say that right away. I like Minnesota a lot in this spot, though. This has been a Minnesota team that's been shooting a ton from the perimeter this season, and New York's defense is all, and honestly, not even that much, but it's interior, right? They've gotten a lot better. They sucked at the interior defense at the beginning of the year. They've gotten a little bit better, but they still struggle in terms of points allowed from three. 20th this season in terms of where they rank. So, nearly bottom 10 in the league. In the last, on the road, the second worst team in terms of stopping opponents from shooting threes. Minnesota at home, 5th most points from three this season per game. So I like Minnesota here to go out there and do some damage from deep. Obviously, if you look at that and you think about player props, you're thinking, Anthony Edwards, Mike Conley, maybe even Dante DiVincenzo, their lines right now. In fact, if we want to pop them up, Anthony Edwards' line, these lines have kind of been the same for a while. Anthony Edwards probably sitting right around 3.5, right? Yeah, 3.5 minus 115. We look at DiVincenzo. That's another one to consider, just given the fact that he's also playing his old team. He might have a easier trigger, to pull it 1.5 from him. That might be a look just because it's kind of a revenge spot for him, even though he's the forgotten about one. Like, people are going to be focused on Towns and Randall. Maybe we like DiVincenzo over 1.5 threes, because I do think, obviously on the season, it hasn't been like crazy for him. He's been up and down. He's still averaging 6.5 threes per game. I think that he's going to have more of a trigger. He's only hit the over once in his last 5 games, so I get it. But this could be a good spot for him to say, hey, screw you, New York. You traded me. This is what you're missing out on, right? So, yeah, maybe that's a look. But anyways, from a total perspective, I think Minnesota can kind of run this one as well. They've been a slow-paced team, but I do think we saw the Hawks do it recently against the Knicks as well, right? That was, I want to say, the second to last game of the Knicks. Now, that game finished under, but how did the Hawks win that game? They started to run, and then they slowed it down at the end of the game when the Knicks made their comeback. But overall, I do think that this Minnesota team has the ability to say, all right, let's kind of run you out of the gym. This still could be a viable under, right? Even when Minnesota runs, they're scoring like 105 to 115 points. So it's not like they're coming out there and just absolutely sprinting all over the floor, but they do have that ability, I think, more so than the Knicks, and I think it could be an advantage. So I'll lean slightly towards the over, but in terms of ranking, whether it's the -2.5 or the total, I'm taking the -2.5 all day. I think this is a good matchup for Minnesota. And, Karl-Anthony Towns returned to Minnesota. There could be emotions and all that. Like I said at the beginning, you could be on the Knicks side, and I wouldn't say you're dumb. But I think this is a Minnesota spot. And obviously, again, those targeting those perimeter guys against the Knicks could be a good look as well. All right, so I know there are some times where I'm like, oh, the Pelicans, the way they match up, should be able to keep it close. Well, this Rockets team is very good at stopping points in the paint. That's like exclusively where the Pelicans shoot from. So this is going to be Rockets -9.5 or nothing for me in this one. I also would kind of look at it and say, yeah, I don't really see where the points are going to come from on the Pelican side of things. So I'll lean slightly towards the under. But I also think the Rockets could have some serious offensive success. So maybe a Rockets team total over. So I got like two ships passing in the night here. I think the Pelicans have a terrible time here, but the Rockets could have some offensive success. So I'll lean Rockets and leave it at that. Maybe, just maybe, we could go Pelicans team total under, something like that, because there is one thing that we're missing on the Rockets side of things. Şengün is listed as questionable. If he doesn't play, I don't think that I really want to look at a Rockets team total over, right? He's going to provide a lot of points. So yeah, give me the Rockets minus the points or Pelicans team total under, and I'm probably not touching that overall total at 218. This is one of those games where, yeah, it's not the best matchup in my opinion, so we don't have to spend too much time on it. Dallas hosting the Clippers. I like Dallas in this one. I think that they're not getting necessarily the credit that they deserve defensively this season. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. The Clippers 5-5. This Clippers team on the road this year has covered in 63.6% of games. But funnily enough, is that the word? Funnily? That exact same percentage is what Dallas has covered at home this year. So yeah, you have two teams that have been good against the number. Dallas is at home. Now I will say, even though the Clippers have covered on the road, right? You look at their home away splits win-loss wise, and this is a lowish number, right? 4.5, 5-6 on the road, 10-6 at home. So I'm targeting the team that I think is in the better situation. And you just throw in the fact that, yeah, I do think that this Dallas team is playing well, and they play good defensively. Now, the biggest thing here, and you're probably like, why haven't you mentioned this yet? Luka Doncic is listed as out, and Kyrie's listed as questionable. If Kyrie plays, I still don't mind Dallas. Again, this number I would normally with Luka put it at like 8.5. It's at 4.5. So even Kyrie and company, I still do like the spot. You have Derrick Jones Jr. listed as questionable, Mann listed as out, Tucker out. Obviously, Leonard's still out here for the Clippers. So I still do like Dallas without them. But probably if Kyrie doesn't play, then it's going to flip me immediately to the Clipper side of things. So that's the margin that I like Dallas, because this is a 4.5 point spread, not because I think that they are like that much better than the Clippers. You know what I mean? I think that they're 5 points better even without Luka. Let's be real. He's not even having like a Luka season, right? This Dallas team's still been very, very good. But if Kyrie's out, and he's not listed as probable or doubtful, it's right in the middle at questionable, so we got to watch it. If he's out, I do think that this flips me to the Clippers. So yeah, I think that Dallas has this one by 5, but it's going to come down to an injury report watch. If Luka was playing, again, let me make that clear. If Luka was playing, I'd expect this spread to be like 7.5. You know what I mean? So obviously, this spread is taking into account the fact that he's out. From a total perspective, 225. I do like the under. I've teetered with this back and forth this morning because, no Luka, I could see them trying to push the pace and say, hey, we know this Clippers team plays slow. Let's try and up the tempo, because obviously Dallas is a fast-paced team so far this season. But to me, they'll probably be careful. And the Clippers, they do have a lot of veterans and whatnot to be able to slow this game down. So I'll lean under. Quite honestly, my favorite spot in this game isn't just Dallas. It's actually Zubac over 14.5 points for plus 105 right now. On DK, it's plus 105. On FD, it's minus 105. MGM, minus 105. Caesars, minus 109. So we're getting some good value for plus money. I do like the spot. Last 2 times he's played Dallas, which was in the playoffs last season, 15 and 17. This season, he's hit the over in 56% of games. On the road, 64% of games in 4 of his last 5. And this is the Dallas team allowing the 5th most points to the center position. And over the last 7 games, they aren't anything special against centers either. So yeah, I do like the spot for him to go out there and be able to score in the paint. This is a good defensive team for Dallas, but on the perimeter. When you get in the paint, they could struggle a little bit, and that's where Zubac is going to clean up. All right, we got Phoenix taking on Indiana, and I don't know what it is about me when I break down and look at the Pacers games, because for whatever reason, I just have like faith in this Pacers team. You guys give me crap in the comments, and truly, like, I don't know why. I don't like this Pacers team. I don't love the players on their team, you know what I mean? But this is another spot in which I think that they can keep this one close. Now, where do the Phoenix Suns shoot from, right? It's pretty much all either mid-range or above the break 3. They'll get into the paint a little bit, but in terms of getting to the rim, they do less than any other team in the entire league. And that's how you've been able to beat the Pacers this season, getting to the rim. If you're going to shoot from outside, the Pacers have actually been fairly good defensively. So yeah, it kind of worries me that Phoenix has to win by 7 to cover this number, potentially no Bradley Beal as well. So give me Indiana plus the 6.5 points. I'll sound the psycho alert alarm because it is psychotic why, like, 9 times out of 10 I lean towards the Pacers. Now, I feel like that's just, like, built up in a narrative that you guys have thrown in the comments because there's been plenty of times where I think that the Pacers are in a bad matchup and I like the other team, but it's weird. How many times have you heard me be like, oh, I like the Pacers in a ridiculous spot, right? Like, the Suns at home, fairly healthy, are clearly the better team, but somehow I'm seeing a silver lining to get to the Pacers. I don't know. Weird. In terms of a total, you do have 2 top half of the league pace teams. But like I mentioned, I don't think the Suns have the best of offensive success here. So I'll actually lean towards an under 236. I'm not all that confident in that. I know people get mad also in the comments when I say, oh, I like this, but I'm not all that confident. Sorry, I'm not going to fake confidence for content. Like I say all the time, and I'm going to be transparent. We go through every game, each side and all that. Like, yeah, there's going to be spots where I'm like, this is where I would go if I had to, but no one's making me. You know what I mean? So I would go towards an under, but this is obviously a game of 2 fast-paced teams, and Indiana's defense, though I'm giving them credit on the perimeter, they're not exactly the best defense overall. So it's probably Indiana plus the 6.5 or nothing in this one for me. All right, guys, before we keep going, if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 25 down below. Truly do appreciate it. It feels so damn good to be back on the main channel and everything like that. So appreciate you guys sticking with me for 25 minutes here. Comment 25 if you made it this far into the video. Our last 3 games here, we're starting it off with San Antonio taking on Atlanta. Now, Atlanta's been playing very good basketball, 7-3 in their last 10 games. I'm giving them a lot of credit here. I don't think this is their matchup, though. I don't think that they win this one overall. And San Antonio is just a pick 'em right now. I've seen this bounce back and forth from, like, pretty much a pick 'em to -1 to -1.5. So San Antonio seemingly most of the time is the favorite, but still, this is probably a money line play no matter how you want to play it, right? San Antonio likes to shoot the 3. Atlanta, worst team in the league so far this year in terms of preventing points from 3. Atlanta loves to get to the rim and shoot in the paint. San Antonio, top 10 team at preventing points in the paint. So I just see that this being an open door for San Antonio to do offensively what they want to do. And then Atlanta on the other side of things really just going to be stymied. Like, they're going to try and get into the paint. It's going to be like, no. Like, we're good at defending the paint. So yeah, give me the Spurs in this spot. Don't have the biggest of feels for this total. I would say that, maybe San Antonio looks better defensively than normal and whatnot. So a potential look at an under, but have we not seen how Atlanta's been playing? They've been able to play, like, crazy offense, but then also good defense. It's like, they're kind of the weird thing that's throwing a wrench into this. If I were just looking at San Antonio, I'd be like, yeah, their defense right now is right around, letting up maybe 110 points per game. They're going to go out and give you 115. That's 225. Probably look at an under. But Atlanta's been the wild card here, so I'm going to lean towards an under, but just know that that's kind of like, if again, similar to what we've said in a lot of spots so far today, I'm not going to force a total. I do like San Antonio on the money line, and that's probably where we ultimately end up going. If we were to roll with a player prop here, I got a couple in mind, potentially looking at Victor Wembanyama for his 3s, as well as Champagnie. I like the guys that are going to shoot the above the break 3, and both of those guys by far and away are going to be the guys to do that for the San Antonio team. I don't think you win this game by taking it inside. Now, is Wembanyama good enough to obviously take it inside and everything like that? Sure, but for him to just make 3 threes today, I really don't mind this spot. Now, last time he played Atlanta, both last year, just 1-3 in each of those games. But again, this is a way different Atlanta team, and obviously Wembanyama is now a different type of player as well. Champagnie from 3, his line right now, I believe we saw it was 2.5 as well, but what odds were we at? More near even odds. He's hit that in 2 straight games, 8 threes over his last 2 games. Last time he's played Atlanta, so the last 2 times, right? 5 threes, 5 threes. In minutes played in those games, he played 20 minutes in each of those, right? Which are kind of like 20 minutes. This season, he's averaging almost 30 minutes per game. So if he had 5 threes in 2 20-minute games against Atlanta, why could we not consider him for, 3 threes in nearly 30 minutes of play, right? So 2 guys that I like, especially targeting that perimeter against Atlanta. In fact, I don't mind the idea of putting them in a same game parlay, just 2+ each. We'll probably get good odds on that as well. So we don't have to worry about them hitting 3. Just each of you guys go out there and get 2. That seems like it could be a move. All right, Portland taking on Denver. I'm going to sound the psycho alert alarm, but hear me out. If DeAndre Ayton plays, I could see Portland some way, somehow keeping this game close. What do I always look at for Portland, especially when they have big numbers now? Do I wish this number was a little bit bigger? Hell yeah. But I always look at the points in the paint defense and points in the paint offense and yada, yada, yada. This Denver team isn't exactly the best team at preventing points in the paint. 6th most points in the paint allowed so far this season, and they love to shoot in the paint offensively. Portland, an above-average team at defending points in the paint. Now, it's going to come down to whether or not Ayton, wants to play, and also you throw in the fact that Denver pretty much owns this Portland team, sure. I get it why you'd be like, that's kind of crazy, especially when Denver has now won 3 games in a row, and Portland isn't all that great, but Portland's been decent at home this year. 58.3% of their games they've covered at home. Straight up, they have a record of 5-7 at home compared to their 3-11 record on the road. So if Ayton plays, I do think that this is at the very least, this is probably a better way of putting it so you guys don't jump down my throat and call me an idiot. At the very least, if Ayton plays, it makes it like a definite stay away from Denver minus the 9 points to me. It doesn't need to be a Portland jump on board, right? But when we're talking leans here and talking about what side I would consider, I think that that's an important note. Ayton plays, I really don't like Denver. Now, could Denver win by 30 points? Yes, we're talking the Denver Nuggets and Jokic and the Portland Trailblazers. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that discrepancy, what I just said. But the way these two teams have been playing, I do think that there's a level of chance that Portland somewhat keeps this game to like single digits somehow, some way. So, yeah, that wouldn't be a hated spot of mine. I don't know if I have the cojones to bet on the Trailblazers, though. Total-wise, you do have Denver who's playing at a fast pace, and overall, this Portland defense isn't all that tremendous. And if Denver decides to shoot from 3 and get hot, they could score some points. So I think I'll lean towards the over 234. It probably doesn't correlate well to my Portland +9, but whatever. It's not my favorite matchup anyways. All right, last game of the slate here. We have Sacramento taking on the Lakers. If you are not aware, Sacramento, the ultimate team that I've put on the do not bet graveyard here. I'm not even considering taking them until we have the new year roll around. Now, people have been like, that's crazy. That's way too long. We are up or positive almost 3 units. I believe it's 3 units on the NBA season, right? Sacramento alone, when we've taken them on the money line, their team totals, or on the spread, we've lost about 3 units alone on this team. So I don't think it's that crazy that we're saying we're not touching them until the new year. Clint Capella still waiting to be revived, and Brook Lopez used to be on the far right of your screen. He's hit his over in threes in a couple straight games, so you know what? He's fair game. Brook Lopez came back, and he's ready to go. He's back from the dead. So that being said, what is the DNB graveyard if you are new? We're not making final plays on those teams or those players. So Sacramento, even if I go into this and I do lean towards Sacramento and whatnot, you take that information and do what you want with it. I'm not putting my hard-earned bread on Sacramento until January 1st of 2025 because they've burned me so much. And to the people that are like, you shouldn't let that impact your betting and all that, It's entertainment, it's fun, and sometimes you just have to put a team in timeout for your own sanity, right? Sacramento -5. I've seen some 4.5s out there. Honestly, it is going to be the spot that I think is the better spot in this game. You have the Lakers that are just kind of in limbo right now, 4-6 in their last 10 games. They haven't been playing well on the road this season. And Sacramento has now, won 3 of their last 4 games. They do lose to Denver, very, very close game, and that was a close spread. So I don't really knock them all that much for it. Sacramento this season on the year though hasn't been covering at home, only 30.8% of games. But guess what? The Lakers even worse on the road. 28.6%. And the one thing I give Sacramento sort of the edge here is that they're very good at preventing points in the paint, and that's where the Lakers are doing damage this year. So that's why I like Sacramento minus the 5 points. In terms of what we have from a total perspective, I think Sacramento can slow this one down and slow the Lakers down. We've seen the Lakers play some slow-ass basketball anyways this season, right? So yeah, I don't mind the under 230. Maybe even a potential Lakers team total over and forget about Sacramento in this one. I know that's kind of betting on Sacramento, and then it's like, wait a second, they're in the graveyard. Are we? Yeah, there's a gray area, okay? If I can find a way to do it, I like it. It's still my rules, so we can kind of change things a little bit. But I do like a Lakers team total under. Player prop wise, this is a Lakers team that, is really, really bad at defending points in the paint. So who are you going to look at when it comes to points in the paint for Sacramento? Either Fox or Sabonis. I think Sabonis is probably the better look here because he's going to have more shots in the paint, obviously, right? And right now, I think his points line, if I saw it correctly this morning, is, at 19.5. He's gone 32 and 28 in his last 2 games. Against the Lakers last time he played, 29 points. That was back earlier in the season. So I like Sabonis over 19.5 points. I didn't look at Fox just because I know his line's going to be kind of crazy, but let's see what we got here. Maybe I'll be surprised with what we have from De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox's points line, 25.5. That's not all that crazy. He's hit this in 4 of 5 games, and it's plus money. Yeah, I'd consider either. I don't think that there's a bad look on the side of either Fox or Sabonis. So maybe those are same game parlay potential guys, like 20 plus from Fox, 15 plus from Sabonis. Put them together, potentially get some decent odds. So that's also a possibility. And again, we're not touching Sacramento, even though that's the side that I do like, because again, DNB graveyard, we're not betting them until they're off of that. And even when they're off of that, they've had to show, like Clint Capella, the hand coming up, the rule there, I guess. Maybe I should put some rules on the screen, because if you watch every day, you might know that hand coming up means he's past his potential revival date, and I just am waiting to see something good out of him to bring him back to the board type of thing. But anyways, guys, that's a lot of gibberish and, rambling, but hopefully you guys do enjoy this. It's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you guys did enjoy, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.